Welcome back to another edition of Cassie's Corner. Hello, all my froggy friends. How's everybody doing? You're in Cassie's Corner. I am Cassie. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you will be notified when I drop a new video. This is my second video of the day, but when I got sick, there were a couple of days, like a week or so, that I did not record at all. So I'm just making up for some of that time, and that way you're not missing any of the book that I am into. I am in the Daily Stoic, and we are taking this from January 28th. That would be the 28th day of the year. And it says Watching the Wise. That is what the title of that is. Before we get into it, I am not a doctor. I am not any kind of professional. I have studied in the medical field, but I'm not any kind of professional where you can say, okay, my doctor said no. I am just a person who has suffered some deep, dark, depressive thoughts and anxiety so badly so that I stayed in the bed for about 10 to 15 years. There were some abusive behaviors on my part. I will not lie. I can't lie. There were some struggling points. Everything was screaming. Everything was a mess. Everything was just a battle. For me, I had to focus on what was important to me. I lost years of memories with my children. It's sad. I've said in prior videos, I had a work environment. It was a nice job. I loved my job, but I messed it up. With my depressive behaviors and my negative thoughts and things of that nature. So, with that being said, I am a survivor and endurer, a person who still struggles with depression. I'm doing a lot better, but a lot of my help came from this book. So I'm purposefully reading it. I thought I'd start out with the new year, with this book, because otherwise I was just ranting and raving over things that weren't making sense, and I was going over it. But I feel like I just need to help somebody. The sadness is not permanent. Depression is not permanent. Negative thoughts are not permanent. You were somebody. Yeah, I know it's 2:00. Shush. You were somebody before the depression hit. Something has traumatized you to believe that sadness is all you can think about. And I'm not saying you're not sad, because I know you are. I've been there. Your emotions are valid. Your feelings are valid. Everything is valid, but you are who you are. Perhaps you were born this way, but I doubt it. Something in your life has traumatized you to think that of nothing but sadness, nothing but the bad thoughts. And you have to go back in your mind and think of a time where you were a happy person. And what did I think? What did I concentrate on? What was I believing? Because I was a great person. My years were between 13 and 14. I was an awesome person. I was a very confident person. You couldn't tell me anything. I was strong. I was funny. I was, I want to be that person again. I had people telling me I was mature. I had people telling me, nothing bothers you. Well, how do you not let things bother you? And my grandma, for one, things would bother her, and I would come to her and befuddle her and try to get her to think differently and feel differently. And, of course, her problems were paying bills, and she was just stressed out, and I really couldn't get her not to think about that kind of thing, because without that, us kids would not get fed, and that made her worry. So I was the kind of person that nothing bothered me. And after so many years of being upset and depressed and sad and all this stuff, I thought, what did I think before? How was I able to get, because I had some stressful times. I had a great childhood, but I did have some stressful things going on in my life, but none of it bothered me. And I had to sit back and think, what was I thinking? How did I make myself get through all that? How did I make myself laugh anyway? How did I not let the situations control me? So I had to get there first. I really was tired of being upset and sad all the time. It was starting to grind my own nerves. Not only had I lost a really good job that I absolutely loved, due to this craziness, I was losing myself, and I just got tired of it. I just was like, okay, I can't deal with it anymore. I can't be sad anymore. So then I started reading a few books. I got a lot of self-help books laying around, and I'm not saying that every time I come to you, I'm going to come in with a self-help book. That's not what it is. A lot of people do not believe in self-help books. This book is called The Daily Stoic, and with reading The Daily Stoics, this is how I believe that people should be. This is how I believe is the most peaceful and dignifying way to control your thoughts. It can control your sadness. It can make you think better. It can put you in a more more mature aspect, a more mature frame of mind, and you don't have to keep reliving the sadness. You don't have to keep thinking, what if. If we focus our minds on what we can control inside our brains, what we control personally, then we can't give way to the things we can't control. So the first thing I do ask you to do is make a list, make two lists. One thing I can control, one thing I can't control. Okay, whereas this one thing you can't control, I don't want you to throw it out. I want you to concentrate on it. I want you to master that thought, because every time you start to get aggravated because it's raining, or because there's traffic, or because you're late for a job, or because, the interview didn't go as you planned, you don't have to worry about it, but you need to master that list so that you know where to maturely put your brain. So these things over here that you can control, that is what I want you to work with. That is what you need to worry about. That is what you need to think about. I also request that you take a piece of paper like this, and you fold it in half, or draw a line halfway, and then you have a night and day. I know I have my paper all backwards, but just bear with me. There's one that I was doodling on. You do a night and day thing, so that way, and journal the things that have upset you. Journal the times that you've been upset. Journal the things that have upset you. Journal the things what people have said. Journal instances that have stopped you in your tracks, and you had to take control of your brain. I mean, just journal it, so that way you have a 6 months, 2 year review of learning what had triggered you and how you can best control it. Those and affirmations. If you can look up affirmations, are everywhere on the internet. I can look them up all day long. They're everywhere. There are affirmations about success, affirmations about romance, affirmations about work, affirmations about personal affirmations, affirmations about women. They are very essential, because when you do something bad, and I don't mean if you make a mistake and you're sitting there and you're talking to yourself and you're like, oh my God, you are so stupid. That is usually a voice that you've heard before. In my case, it was my mother or my brother or my sister, or things of that nature. So I had to use these affirmations. I had to start small. I had to start with something true, like I am a wife, I am a mother, I am responsible for other human beings, I am responsible. I have a lot of trust in me. I'm trusted with a lot of information, because I had, my husband's bank information. I had to. I'm responsible, for the happiness. I'm partially responsible for the happiness of my husband. In that I meant, his house had to be clean. He had to make sure he was fed. He had clothes, things of that nature. So I had to start with the small, true things before I could get to the part that would say, "Oh, you're amazing," or "You're a great person," "You're awesome," "You're graceful," "You're," that kind of thing. But I had to hear what was true, so that it could erase all these negative thoughts that were coming in my brain in other people's voices. And if you know anything about me, you can go back to the videos months ago, but it has something to do with what did I mean by being disabled. And I think that video explains a lot of my childhood and things of that nature. So that way you can be up to par with what I'm talking about. Anyway, okay, so we're going into Watching the Wise. Again, this was January 28th. I was sick at this time. I had another belly flare up. not it was not a beautiful week, that is for sure. So it says, take a good hard look at people's ruling principle, especially of the wise, what they run away from and what they seek out. And Marcus Aurelius said that in his Meditations. He also has another list of another piece of work that he wrote for himself. If you remember, Marcus Aurelius wrote things for his own self to remember in part of his Stoic theory, so that he could be reminded what is being said and what is being thought. And so he pretty much just wrote for himself. Seneca said, without a ruler to do it against, you can't make crooked straight. That is the role of wise people in our lives, to serve as a role model and inspiration, to bounce off ideas and test our presumptions. Who that person will be for you is up to you. Perhaps it's your father, your mother, maybe it's a philosopher, a writer, or a thinker, perhaps WWJD. Does anybody remember what that was from? What would Jesus do? Is the right model for you, but pick someone, watch what they do and what they don't do, and do your best to do the same. I think this is kind of, I don't want to copy people. I don't think we should copy people so much, but having somebody to look up to is a whole different type of copying. Like if it's a good person. I always tried to copy my grandma. I haven't mastered that. She was from a whole generation than I was from. She was born in 1932, and I was born in 1970. So we had a couple of generations in between us, so I haven't followed completely through this, but I've really tried to match my grandma's strength. I really tried to match her vitality. I tried to match her wit. I tried to really just follow through with how she dealt with things. I didn't know her to have, except for one boyfriend, and that was way back when I was 3 or 4 years old. And I remember his face. I remember what he looked like. But other than that, she never worried about herself or a boyfriend until after we moved, grew up and got out of the house. And I thought that was amazing. She didn't depend on a man to do things for her. She did things herself. And I mean, we had a house and we went to school. All three of us had clothes. We all had something to eat. We were all very well taken care of. That kind of thing. Another person that I look up to was probably my dad for a little while. I love how, I'm not saying he didn't have a mental illness or anything like that, but he was just very quiet and very reserved. And it didn't last for very long. I was probably in my teens, and I thought he was just the best thing since popsicle sticks. And then that went away quickly. My grandma, my granddaddy, I still remember him telling me that there are only 3 things that a man should never talk about. It's politics, religion, and money. And I still believe that. Politics, religion, money. Man should not talk about those 3 things. That puts them in a very vulnerable situation. And the way we talk about politics, as far as the media is concerned, and all the superstars and singers and actors and that kind of thing swooping in and taking their place, and it kind of puts them also in a position to be attacked in a certain way. And Lord forbid they're being, so judged by their political stance that people are being like, well, I just don't like her. I won't listen to anything he has to say. I won't listen to any more of his songs. It's, I think we are so much more into politics than we used to be. It didn't used to be that way. I think the biggest thing we had was Farm Aid, as far as in the 80s was concerned. Farm Aid or that kind of thing. I love that the movie stars and singers of my day did decide to champion the AIDS Foundation and things like that. That was awesome. That was awesome. At least we had, faces that we could feel comfortable with. But all this Trump politics and stuff, it's gotten way out of hand. It's really gotten out of hand. with it all. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that Trump is not a good president. I'm not saying he's the best president. I'm not saying anything of that nature. I just feel like we talk about politics way, way too much. We've relied so much on our political stance that there's no entertainment anymore, is what I'm saying. And so pick someone and watch what they do and try to mirror. Again, if you can't make something straight. You can't make something crooked straight if you don't have a ruler. So find someone that you look up to and don't act like them, don't try to copy them, but base your thoughts and opinions and your actions on how they may feel, on how they would have probably acted, and that way we're carrying on somewhat of a legacy, and we're probably doing the right thing, especially if it's the right time to be, right thing to say. My grandmother was also a gossip monger, and that was fine and dandy, but I try to steer clear of that kind of thing. But what else did she have? She only had 5 sisters, so I mean, couldn't blame her in the least. But that is my advice for you for January 28th, a day I missed because I was sick. Sorry about that. I'll never do it again. No, I can't promise that at all. How has everybody's day been? Has the weather been as you desired it? Has your day gone as you hoped it could? Have you practiced what is in your circle of control? Remember to make those lists and check off the ones that you realize you've mastered. Are you behaving in a way that shows you are in control? Are you letting intangible feelings and thoughts and emotions, are you letting them be in control? Because that is where we lose. That is where, I'm not saying we're not winners, because everybody's a winner, everybody's precious, everybody's beautiful, everybody is, but we need to come out on the winning side of our emotions and our thoughts and our feelings and things like that. And it would be lovely if we could take cues from someone we respect and applaud and can always do the right thing and always feel the right thing. That's just an absolute. Also, for a long time I did copy Princess Diana. In a way, I tried. I didn't know her as a person, so that was not. I do adore her, though. She's still one of my very big heroes. As you can see, there's a picture right there of her. She's still one of my big heroes, because I've never seen somebody just so compassionate and so loving with people that did not, that other people deemed that they did not deserve. So I feel like she is the epitome of what everybody should be. If we learn to love each other, there's not going to be any room for hate. But what do I know? I'm just one human being. A lot of people thought she was crazy, and maybe she was. Maybe she did. Maybe she did do things that were just bat crap, crazy. But she was also just 20 years old when she was kind of catapulted into, not by her, also by her own behavior, but she was also catapulted into the royal family as a 20-year-old child. I feel like at 20, you're still not grown. She still has some growing up to do, and she admitted to her personal emotions that were not well. So I do still very much adore her, very much. Even after 20 some odd years, I miss her very much. So find that person to look up to and try to behave in a way that you think they would behave. How would they feel if they see you just going off the deep end at people? What would they talk to you about? A lot of times when I got depressed, I had to tell my grandmother one time before she lost her memory. I had to tell her that I was depressed, and I didn't like having to do it because I thought she would for sure yell at me. But no, she thought that she was being depressed too, and I realized then that, I realize now she was trying to tell me that something was wrong with her, but I didn't pick up Alzheimer's, and that was what was wrong with her. She had Alzheimer's, and I was the first person she forgot. But yeah, I thought, because our family was strong and very proud, and there was no, we're not allowed to steal, we're not allowed to do this, we're not allowed to do that. And she was very strong. I mean, she did things, like I said, all by herself. I thought, well, if I told her I was depressed, she'd be angry with me, but it didn't happen that way. She was like, you know what? I think I'm a little depressed too. So, I was kind of glad I did have that conversation with her, because I didn't want to be the one to, I don't want to be the one to tarnish her memory. So, with that being said, I hope everybody has a great big belly laugh. I hope you find somebody to appreciate. You learn to be kind to this person and tell them you appreciate them for whatever reason. It has to be a true statement, though. It has to be true. Everything you say, everything you think has to be true. If you sit there and you look at yourself and you're like, okay, I am so stupid. Okay, prove it. Prove to yourself that you're stupid. Prove to yourself that you're retarded. What does the doctor say? What does your IQ say? What were you like in high school? Let's really get with this. Can you really be stupid? Because I don't think you can. I think you're doing the best with what you have. So, unless it's true, don't think it. Unless you can prove it, don't think it. Because it's not. It's not true. It's not real. You have to think real. Again, with your affirmations, make sure that you start with something that's real, so that way your brain will believe what nice things you have to say to yourself. Erase those negative voices in your head. I almost couldn't grab it, sorry. Erase those negative voices with your positive voice, and because it's true, you're able to believe it so much better. I promise this is going to work. This is going to work. This sadness is not permanent. Depression is not permanent. You do not deserve to be sad all the time. There's no way anybody can live like that. And I know you're going to get tired of it. I do. But I am here. I am here at this channel, Cassie's Corner. I also have Cassie's, no apostrophe, _corner at outlook.com. That is my email, where you can email me personal things that you might think somebody will read and they'll think it's about them, or you don't want to mention names or situations. That is a personal email that you can reach me. Also, I am at facebook.com / Bows of Happiness. It was made a long time ago. It was actually probably 2012, 2014, something like that. But it was called The Happy Girl until about 2 weeks ago. And I thought, well, hey, let's carry on this Cassie's Corner. In this way, I can write notifications from the book, or make sure that I have my positive affirmations going, or some positive quotes and things like that. Just little reminders in case I'm not here, so that you will have that strengthening bond with me, and I can still help you, even though I may not be here on YouTube at the moment. So, I am very, very eager to hear from you. Please, thank you for watching. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. YouTube has rules. I have to abide by them. So any more interaction that you have, YouTube will recommend my videos a little bit more, and maybe I can reach some other sad people that also need to hear that sadness is not permanent. Depression is totally not permanent. You control your brain. You control your thoughts. List your circle of control. Keep up with your day and night journals, at least for 6 months, up to a year. So that way you can keep a permanent, a record of what is being said or done to trigger you. And you can bounce off of that and try to prepare yourself better for what is coming. So you're not caught somebody saying something negative about you, and you're not caught acting silly and crying out and things of that nature, and making everybody's day, really, really bad just for their opinion. You're going to let an opinion rule you? Really? I don't think so. I can't let that happen, and you're not going to let that happen. Are we in agreement? I think we're in agreement. So, y'all have a fabulous day. Find somebody you appreciate. Say it, but it has to be true. It doesn't matter if it's just something they wear, their hair, their jewelry, anything. It has to be true. Hey, I love your shoes. It has to be true. It has to absolutely be true. Okay? Or else it's just not going to work. And they're going to know. People know when you lie to them. People know when you're blowing smoke up their tailpipe. They do. I do. Don't lie to me just to start a conversation with, just to be nice. I mean, if you're going to be nice for real. If, like my grandma said, if you're not going to do it right, then don't do it. Okay? Just thinking outside the box. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon, and I will see you all next time. Thanks again. Bye-bye.